Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where I just had a small issue where it was not seeing the subhexes because they didn't exist. I deleted the prefab and then apparently that stayed linked even though the biome hexes were still up here, and when I restarted Unity to record this episode, the biome hexes vanished, so I had to restore the biome hexes prefab from my recycling bin. And now we should be in a situation where absolutely nothing has changed over the last little while. And let's just make sure that that's still the case. That does indeed seem to be the case. Perfect. Okay. So, absolutely nothing has changed. And we should now be in a position where, well, okay, it's not true that absolutely nothing has changed. What is true is that the buildings, or rather the biome hexes, are now known to the world hex. So what we can do is we can go into our, if we go in here, we can go into our, where are we? Hex store. And we can get ourselves this here. Now, there's a couple of things. We've got our level here, so we've got our world, biome, and building hexes. Currently, our world hex exists and then stores the biome hex, which is then generated upon opening, or upon clicking on the world hex. We then see the biome hex, but it knows what's inside of it. It doesn't know what's inside of the buildings. And that's something I'd like to change, and I'm just thinking about how exactly I want to do that. So we have a couple of options. We can make another layer of hex stores, or we can make this be a list of buildings and have this essentially be storing a biome hex. That's another option. Or we can just leave it the way it is and start working on some actual gameplay. That's another option, and just put in a to-do up here. I think I'm gonna do that. To-do. Make capitalization matters sometimes. Not in the case of a comment, but you know, whatever. To-do. Make buildings generate before we go, or rather, make buildings generate and store in base hex. Okay, there we go. So I think the very first thing that we should probably do, if we're going to make some actual gameplay here, is we should go into our scripts, and we should go ahead and say that we happen to have, currently, one truck, which we do have. Okay, perfect. Where is this truck, though? So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to run the game, and we need to have a series of pop-ups that ask us a few things, like what do we want to name our company? Like, essentially a series of tutorial windows. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to, for right now, disable the top bar. So the top bar will not be there. And let's just create ourselves a UI image. And this image will, for right now, simply be a background. And I'm just going to darken it a fair amount. About here-ish, maybe? Let's see how that looks against the colors of our tiles right now. Okay. It looks fine-ish. But I think we would be better off having it be kind of parchment colored, like our logo. Have it be right around here-ish, just a little bit off-white. Like that. And then I'm just going to add an outline. And we'll see what that actually looks like here, because we've got a little bit of alpha here, but we use the graphic alpha. It should work fine. And let's see how that looks. Okay, let's play this. Also, if in case you're wondering why my cursor is like the Windows 98 variant, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for you. Windows 10 just decided this is my cursor now. I have rebooted the computer, and I don't like that outline. I've rebooted the computer, I've done everything I can think of, and this is still my cursor. So, it's not set that way. I don't even. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm not going to make this particularly fancy. I'm just going to call this tutorial window. There we go. And let's go ahead and go into our scene and take a quick look at our tutorial window. I want to be in front ortho so that we can actually see it here. Okay. And now let's make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to hold down Alt to make it bigger like so, and I'm just going to make it be maybe 1280 by 720. So make that be 720p. I mean, it's probably a little too big, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and create a few empties inside of here. And this first one, I'm going to pin right down here. And in fact, I'm going to have it be anchored bottom center, with the bottom being the position here, and 100 by 100 pixels, not really. I want it to be stretched along the bottom, like so, and maybe about 80 pixels. And this is going to be the button bar. Okay, and we will create... There isn't a Text Mesh Pro button, but we can kind of make one. So we'll do a UI button, like so, and then go in here and delete the text, and then create a UI Text Mesh Pro text. Okay. Excellent. We'll add in a layout group to the button bar, and this will be a horizontal layout group. Go ahead and control the width and height. And we can adjust the padding and the spacing here in a little bit. For right now, I'm just going to do 5 pixels on each side with a spacing of 5 pixels. And then this text is probably a little too big. I'm just wondering where our actual text is. Oh, it's white. It's also inverted. It's backwards. So that's interesting. Oh, we're on the wrong side here. That's a little awkward. Let's just go ahead and, for now, hide our subhexes and our sub-subhexes, or rather our biome hexes and our building hexes, to use the current nomenclature. So here's our back. I mean, I suppose that I could just turn our UI camera, but I'm going to leave it the way it is. So I'm going to call this button text. And then this button will be simply next button. And we will then have a total of 3 buttons here. I'm going to go ahead and delete that empty for right now. But let's duplicate this button 3 times for right now. And for the moment, I'm going to have these buttons read previous. And let's go ahead and auto-size this for right now. Same thing here. This one will actually read next. And then this one will be skip tutorial. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, this is a little wacky looking. It's a little bit bigger than we need. Maybe about a height of 40. Maybe a height of 50. Yeah, I like that better. And then we'll also add in some extra spacing here and some extra padding. Maybe 50, 50, 50, 50? And a spacing of 50? Or just 5 on top and bottom? That's a little bit better. Maybe 100? Yeah, that seems fine. And we'll just raise this up from the bottom. Yeah, we'll just move it up about 15 that should be fine. And I'm going to go ahead and make these be 0 and 0. And then we will raise this up another 10 to compensate. There we go. Okay. So there's our button bar for the tutorial window. We will have a UI image for right now. Advisor image. And I'm just going to anchor that to be middle center, or rather middle left stretched. And this will be top and bottom of about 100 and 100. And then the position X will be about right around here, maybe around 25, but we need the pivot point to be at 0. So 25? Yeah, that seems fine. We're going to need a little bit more space on the bottom or a little less space on the top, one or the other. We'll try 50. That seems fine. And we'll make it be a width of about 200, definitely not. 2,000, definitely not. 500? I mean, we could make it a multiple of 2 and have it be like 512. But the thing is, it's going to scale anyway. I definitely think we need to move it in a little bit. Like, we need to have it be the same amount there. And I think we need it to have the same amount there as well. So right about, not 40, 50. Let's bump this up to be about 110. That's still probably not perfect, but that's okay. And we can just have this, for right now, be the input field background. And I'm just going to color it. Actually, I'm going to leave it white. This is fine. So we've got our advisor image here, and then we will have ourselves a UI image. And this one is going to be not the advisor image, but rather the advisor text BKG. And this is going to be basically the same thing, but over on the other side. So over here, and we basically want to copy this rect transform. Like so. Paste component values. Actually, no, that was horrible. Copy this component. Paste component values. That's a little bit better. And now let's just set it over to the other side. Position X of 50. Although we need this to be 1. So then negative 50. Okay. And I want to increase the width a little bit to be right around 650 is probably fine. And then we'll make this be the background. Okay. And then UI text mesh pro text. And let's make sure that this text field is about the right size. We'll give it about a 10 pixel pad, probably, on any given side. Like so. And we'll make sure that it is black. Perfect. Okay. So here we have our advisor text BKG, and this is advisor text test. We probably don't need this to be size 36. Size 24 is probably more than enough, and as you can see, we can fit a ton of information in that. So that seems good. Now, I don't know about the order of these buttons, but we can always change them around later. I mean, that's honestly... Well, we need to rename these. So this needs to be next button, as it already was. This needs to be previous button. This needs to be skip tutorial button. There we go. And honestly, switching them around, changing their order, as easy as just dragging and dropping the order in this list. We can always swap it later if we feel like that is necessary. So let's go ahead and start creating ourselves a script here. So I'm going to go into the... Actually, I'm going to make a new folder here, and I'm going to call this tutorial. And let's create a C# script, tutorial script. Okay. So, this tutorial script is going to be of type advisor script. That doesn't exist yet. So let's go ahead and come in here and create a C# script, and we will call this advisor script. And the advisor script is going to be a mono behavior, and it will have inside of it public list string, and this string will be texts and equals new list string. There we go, that'll be fine. And then the other things that it would need would be something kind of along the lines of, and we're going to need to, using unityengine.ui for this, we're going to need a public image, or rather a public list of type image. Images equals new list image. Okay. And then this is going to need a couple of functions. It will need a, I'm going to go ahead and save that. It will need, well, we've got our 3 buttons right now, so we're going to need a public void on advance script, a public void on reverse script, and a public void on end script. Okay. Oops. We need brackets, not a not a semicolon. So we can advance, reverse, or end the script, and then we are also going to need, let's see, we're going to need a reference. So let's just go ahead and put in a header up here, and this header will read script, and then this will be header UI components. And these UI components will be as follows. I mean, essentially, it's just going to be this here. So, public image, advisor image, public, and this will be the button, previous button. Do we actually need a reference to the buttons? Yes, because we may need to change the skip tutorial button. Okay. Yeah, that'll be okay. Well, if we need to change the text, then we would need the text component, not the button component. I think we'll just not have buttons for right now. And for right now, if we need to pop this thing up again and do any, like, story elements or anything, we can approach that at that point. So public text, advisor text, and actually it's not text, it is tmpro dot, and this is, can never remember this, tmp Text Mesh Pro UGUI. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that, and I'm going to change this over to read advisor text as soon as it compiles. There we go. And then it's basically as simple as adding in a public int current index equals 0. And then we can do on advanced script, on reverse script, and on end script. Now, one other function we might want to do is public void jump to script index. So that way we can just very, very easily jump to a different portion of the script. So let's go ahead and start implementing some of these. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is, well, we can set up a bit of a convention here, right? So our images aren't necessarily going to change on a per text level, but we might want to be able to do that. So let's just go ahead and, for right now, current index ++. We're not going to worry about setting that up currently. So, with current index ++, if current index is greater than, this will be texts.count, then we need to do onEnd script and return. So, if we are beyond the end of our script, then it'll just automatically end it and get out of there. The next thing we need to do is we need to, if that isn't the case, we need to update our advisor image and our advisor text. So, advisor image, and if I recall correctly, I don't think we... Let's see. I think it's just .image? No. What is it called on the image component? Source image. Sprite? I guess they called it Sprite? But here it's very clearly source image. I don't know why they'd call it Sprite. Is there another one in there that would work? I don't think there is. We've got override sprite. I doubt that's what we need to do. We've got main texture. But I'm pretty sure that's not what we're looking for. Yeah, that's of type texture. We've got GUI texture, that's deprecated. I'm pretty sure it's sprite. Like 95% certain. So that would then equal images dot, or actually just rather images current index. Oh, it's of type sprite. Okay, that's fine. We can change that very easily. So, sprite, okay. Now that'll compile together. However, we only want to do this if images dot, or rather images... First we need to check if current index is less than images.count. So if the image exists and images current index is not equal to no, then we go ahead and do this. Otherwise, we don't care about changing the image. The next thing is we can go ahead and say something along the lines of... Realistically, I don't think we need tutorial script. But we'll get to that in a moment. We will get to that in just a moment. Okay, so we know that it's not greater than texts.count, so all we need to do is check if texts.current, or rather, not dot, text's current index is not equal to no. So if it's assigned, then all we need to do is set tmpro, or rather just advisor text, dot text to be text's current index. Okay, so with that being the case, that's easy enough, but we are going to need one more function here, public void on start script. And that would be just called in void start on start script automatically. Okay. I'm separating these functions out. They technically don't need to be separated out because they're basically the same thing at this point, but you know, it's fine. We'll see if we need to do anything else here, but for right now, this will be fine. So the advisor script here is coming along quite nicely. We need to do the same thing here for onReverse script. So actually, let's split this off into a different function. And I want to call that, and I want to do it right up here, public void update, or not update, update UI. There we go. So we'll go ahead and grab all of this, and then place this right here. And then on advanced script, all we need to do is current index ++ and update UI. And then for reverse script, all we need to do is current index ++, or rather minus minus, and update UI. Now, when we do on reverse script, we need to be checking if if current index equals 0, just return, do nothing. And then here on advanced script, we can run this instead of doing that in update UI. So current index ++, and then if current index is greater than texts.count on end script and return, otherwise update UI. And then down here on reverse script, if current index equals 0, so if we're at the start, then we return. So then in the start script, we need to say current index equals 0. Let's just make absolutely certain of that. And let's go ahead and update UI. And then on end script, we can very easily do that in a moment, though. I want to do jump to script index and then int new index. And then we can say something along the lines of current index equals new index. And then I'm going to copy this, and we're going to run this check, but we're going to check to see if it's less than or equal to 0, then return. I'm actually just going to have it be at 0, so current index equals 0, but only if it's less than 0. And then I'm also going to run this here, and we're going to say if current index is greater than text.count on end script, otherwise update UI. Okay. So then on end script is just going to go ahead and do what exactly? Well, for right now, what we're going to have it do is we're going to put in a public image, and this is going to be the advisor window. So all on end script is going to do is say advisor window .gameObject.setActive false. Right now, that's all that's going to do. So we have basically our full advisor script put in here. And with the way we built this, we don't need a subclass tutorial script. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And I'm actually going to move this on out of here into the regular scripts folder and get rid of tutorial. There we go. We can go ahead and reload that. It'll probably not know where it goes, but it's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and toss in a tutorial script here. So I'm going to put that in right here, and I'm going to put in an advisor script. And one thing that we may want to do is put in a toggle here, and I'm going to need to reopen the advisor script. Public bool run on load equals false to start with. And then in start if run on load on start script. There we go. So now it will not run this unless we check the box, if we have it in the script, unless we call the onStart script. And realistically, onStart script should probably go ahead and say advisor window.gameObject.setActive true. Okay. So let's just make a really, really quick script here and see if this works. I'm going to make this 2. This is a test. Did it work? And we're not going to set a... we're not going to set images here. I don't know if we need to have it at 2 or not. We're going to run this on load. And we're going to go ahead and set the advisor window here to be this. And I'm going to go ahead and rename tutorial window to advisor window. There we go. And then advisor image can be right here, and advisor text can be right here. Now, as far as linking up these buttons goes, that'll actually be a little bit more complicated. I just now realized that. So let's just go ahead and put a pin in this. I need to put a cut in here, and we'll do that in the next episode. See you all then.